Hello. There is sufficient scientific evidence that lack of food and adequate nutrition could lead to poor performance of pupils in primary schools. And many governments or nations across the globe, including Nigeria, are beginning to tackle the problem through school feeding programs. And that's our concern tonight as I welcome you formally to another edition of Weekend File. Good evening and welcome to the place to be on a Saturday evening. And let's get started. School feeding programs have been defined by the World Bank as targeted social safety nets that provide both educational and health benefits to the most vulnerable children, thereby increasing enrollment rates, reducing absenteeism, and improving food security at the household level. This perhaps informed the federal government's decision to launch what it called Homegrown Feeding Program, which aims at fostering quality education, enhancing children's active learning capacity, alleviating short-term hunger, and providing incentive for children to go to school. The program focuses on linking school feeding with local small farmers by creating steady market for their agricultural produce, thereby boosting local economies and creating new jobs along the way. To achieve the national coverage, the federal government is partnering with less than 20 states that indicated interest in the government's supplemental feeding program. Other states are yet to key in, their reason being that they were not consulted at the planning stage, considering the 40% counterpart funding required of them. So tonight, Weekend File examines the implementation process of the homegrown school feeding in terms of sourcing, cooking, and distribution of food to targeted children. Are the children receiving all the foods allocated to them? Is there a system of accountability? What is the role of teachers and the locals in the entire process? These are some of the questions to be answered as you kickstart tonight's edition of Weekend File, your weekend companion. My name is Kirian Umayo, and the news is first. Health ministers from ECOWAS states are advocating the need for the best approach to combating cross-border disease outbreak in the region. The ministers who are attending their 18th ordinary session at the ECOWAS headquarters in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, are appealing to member states to develop local capacity for vaccines production. Morijanatu Adam Said reports.
This meeting of the ECOWAS health ministers is aimed at strengthening a regional approach to combating diseases outbreaks within the region. Vice President of the ECOWAS Commission, Edward Singati, explains the reason why member states need to think out of the box for a more appropriate strategy for disease control within the sub-region.
To address this situation, the One Health approach has demonstrated its effectiveness in strengthening multi-sector coordination in the areas of human health, animal health, and environmental health to better build and sustain essential capacities for preventing, detecting, and responding to infectious disease threats.
Part of the objective of the meeting is to attain the highest approach in monitoring and controlling epidemic, as well as cooperating with one another and with others for a collective and strategic combat against the health problems of the sub-region. In Abuja, Morijanatu Adam Said, NT News.
The Nigerian Governors Forum Secretariat is collaborating with the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to review and find solutions to challenges encountered by states in implementing the policy of primary healthcare under one roof. The idea is to ensure that the Primary Healthcare Governance Reform Initiative becomes successful. Chimdi Mandubisi has that report.
Primary health care is the foundation of every healthcare system, being the first level of care close to the people, which offers cost-effective health interventions. To unify primary healthcare structures and programs at all levels, the Primary Healthcare Under One Roof policy was initiated. This gathering, therefore, is to assess the current situation, identify challenges, in addition to sharing experiences and successes of states in the implementation process.
Whether it is in the area of routine immunization, data quality improvement, vaccine development, and very importantly, demand creation at the community level, we are taking bold steps to bring about effective coordination at the national level.
Get our governors on board, ensure that there's better funding, and then to empower the champions at the state level.
One of the roles of the development partner in this initiative is to provide technical support.
We have provided what they call the eHub. The eHub is the platform on which a lot of things can sit. So all the tools and manuals that have been developed to support states can now be accessible on that platform.
It's particularly important for me to see that all the tiers of government that are responsible for primary healthcare are together.
The strict implementation of this policy will strengthen the primary healthcare systems, resulting in efficient health allocation and improved health services. In Abuja, Chimdema Ndubisi, NTA News.
And the federal government is committed to ensuring that infrastructural development is given priority with a view to providing enabling environment for businesses to thrive. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Raji Fashola, has officially handed over the reconstructed project of the Apapa Wharf Road in Lagos to contractors on site. Joy Ken Ababoya reports.
That was the official signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the federal government and organized private sector, expected to ease the untold hardship that characterized the movement of passengers, haulage and heavy-duty equipment on Apapa Wharf Road.
They are going to use cement, concrete. So you are going to have a concrete pavement road, not a bituminous tar road.
Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, assured stakeholders in the maritime and transport sector that the project will address the continuous degradation of the road and drainage system on the axis. He, however, solicited their cooperation in various areas, including provision of holding bay for trucks to park and diversion of routes to access the port's complex.
This is just the first part of our intervention in Apapa. This construction of this section that we will hand over today will take 1 year. We will try to see how best we can work to reduce the construction time and gain more time.
The reconstruction project of the Port Access Road is being bankrolled by the Nigerian Ports Authority, Dangote Group and Flour Mills PLC, to the tune of 4.34 billion naira.
Every tank farm must be able to have holding bays for their trucks. If you do not have that provision, you will be sanctioned.
We're partnering with them to fund this project as part of our CSR.
There was an interactive session with the stakeholders on workable synergy to support the contractors on site so that the reconstruction project can be delivered before the expected duration of 12 months. In Lagos, Joy Ken Ababoya, NTA News.
The Nigerian Railway Corporation has refuted allegation that the washout that occurred at Mokwa Rail Line was as a result of the corporation's ineffectiveness. Managing Director, Nigerian Railway Corporation, Fidet Okeria, said this during a media briefing in Lagos on measures put in place to restore railway services in the affected areas. Annie Daniels has the details.
Managing Director, Nigerian Railway Corporation, Fidet Ohiria, disclosed that the corporation has always been proactive in discharge of its duties aimed at averting disasters on services and rail lines. One of the measures, he reveals, is the deployment of personnel to rail lines across the country, especially during wet seasons between May and September, in order to inspect, detect and repair disaster-prone spots.
This one just came too forceful and powerful for. It's not the one that gives you signs.
Ohiria regretted that the washout has disrupted rail services between the western and northern parts of the country. However, with directives from the Minister of Transportation, Right Honorable Rotimi Chibika Amechi, urgent measures have been put in place to ensure speedy restoration of rail services in the affected areas. These include the transportation of repair materials to the affected sites.
In Lagos, we are moving some granite, that's what we call ballast, and we are moving Gideon crates and lumpstones to support what we are moving from Ibadan or far. And we are also taking from Zaria.
The temporary measure, he says, is expected to last for 2 weeks. and will go up about 5 million naira. It will be recalled that a rail washout occurred a few days ago between Ndafu and Tatabu villages in Niger State following a flood. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Minister of Interior Abdurrahman Bello Dambazao has tasked officers and men of the Nigerian Immigration Service to be more committed and professional in the discharge of their primary assignment. He said this during the passing out of 451 Border Patrol Corps at the Nigerian Immigration Training School, Kano. Binta Adamu has the report.
Minister of Interior Abdurrahman Bello Dambazao, who congratulated the newly trained officers, called on them to use the experience gained in enhancing service delivery. He said training is a tool for developing a productive manpower, while retraining is to update them to cope with emerging trends in their trades or profession.
Advice is to first ensure that whatever they learn here, they should make sure that they use them to enhance their professionalism.
The Controller General Nigerian Immigration Service, Mohammed Babande, said the Immigration Service will not relent in its commitment towards training and retraining of officers and men to effectively man the nation's borders.
We have demonstrated our ability to do land patrol with trained commanders, with drivers, with operatives. So if we have the air patrol and we have the technology where we can see things happening through remote sensing, we can deploy aircraft, we can deploy the land patrol team, there will be an effective way to do it.
The training is to improve their capacity and competence to secure the nation's borders. Binta Adamu, NTA News.
The Commissioner of Police, Kogi State Command, Wilson Inalegu, has ordered the setting up of a mediation committee to curb the incessant herdsmen farmers clashes in Dekena local government area. Onotu Yakub reports that the committee is to draw representatives from the parties in dispute, security agencies, the affected local government areas, and National Orientation Agency.
The Emergency Peace and Security meeting was informed by the recent rise in the spate of crime and criminality in the Dekena local government area. Top on the discussion at the meeting, however, was the issue of herdsmen farmers clashes in the area, a challenge which has persisted despite efforts by relevant authorities.
The Fulanis and the farmers to cooperate with police.
The present claim of Fulanis are not the Fulanis of the
Kogi State Commissioner of Police, Mr. Wilson Inalegu, described the herdsmen farmers clashes as a national phenomenon which should be urgently tackled.
At the time they come together, operating as one body, not vigilante of farmers different and vigilante of herders different, that will bring them together. Because I can see that both parties want peace.
No one is happy with the situation on the ground. And by the grace of God, an achievement has been made today, and the follow-up will continue. There is going to be peace between the herdsmen and the farmers.
From Dekena, Onotu Yakub, NTA News.
June 17, 2017 is the day fixed by the National Broadcast Commission, NBC, as deadline for all television broadcast stations to switch over to digital broadcasting in Nigeria. Although the country has not fully migrated to digital broadcasting, efforts are in top gear to cover the entire nation by the federal government under the coordination of the NBC. Adebola Brooksland Sunday takes a look at government's effort to ensure that Nigeria goes fully digital.
The shift towards digital broadcast means that consumers can enjoy a wider variety of shows on multiple channels with a better quality of video and audio signals. In Africa, Nigeria is one of the countries playing the leading role to ensure that its citizens enjoy the dividends of digital migration.
You can watch 30 free channels made up of national, local, and regional stations. There's also the opportunity for interaction between government and the people.
Currently, the Federal Capital Territory and Jos in Plateau State have fully migrated with about 30 channels already transmitting.
The Nigerian government is committed to this process. At the moment, we're working on 6 different states in Nigeria
one from each geopolitical zone of the country. So in Kaduna for the northwest, Gombe in the northeast, Kwara in the north central, Osun in the southwest, Delta in the south-south, and Enugu State in the southeast.
It's not a problem to assist MBC in the DSO problem if we are so chosen. Ours is just to provide a backhaul service, which you use bandwidth to do. And the bandwidth is available on Nightcoms at 1 hour.
Research shows that the Nigerian television industry is capable of generating $1 billion annually when it fully migrates into the digital broadcast platform. Adebola, Brooklyn Sunday, NTA News.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has re-echoed the desirability of eschewing hate speeches and inflammatory statements capable of causing disaffection amongst the people. The minister stated this at this year's Ramadan lecture series he instituted in his country home in Kwara State. Anthony Folsom was there for NTA News.
This year's edition is the 10th in the series since it was instituted. The minister said the period which is used to seek forgiveness from Allah also justifies the need for Nigerians at this period to embrace peace and work for the greatness of the country rather than fan the embers of disunity, which will do no one any good.
We must disregard those who have engaged in hate speeches. We must appeal to all our wards, to all our people, to desist from hate speeches. Hate speeches have been responsible for wars. Wars are not always started by bullets. They are started by words of mouth. God has a purpose for making us one, and we shall remain united.
While appealing for restraints, he called on the citizens to maintain their faith and confidence in the federal government as it is doing all within its powers to ensure that Nigerians earn a better living. The guest lecturer, Ustaz Ibrahim Gidadu, admonished Muslims to see Ramadan as a period for honest supplication to Allah and not a period for temporary service to humanity.
We don't do anything we are doing to be a show off. We do it to get an appreciation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we pray for our president, Muhammad Buhari. We pray for him for his quick recovery. And we pray for the acting president, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should guide him, strengthen him.
Guest of honor at the occasion and governor of Osun State, Abdurrauf Aragbesola, said the Ramadan has entered its most revered stage, which needs extra dedication and piety. Rejoicing over Allah's abundant mercies on mankind, he took everyone at the event into a supplication mood. Allah subhanaka rabbil izzati amma yasifuka bisifati. Anthony Forson, NTA News.
The Etinupe Alhaji Yahya Abubakar has tasked Muslims to defend their religion against negative doctrines as well as uphold the tenets of Islam. The Emir was speaking during a Ramadan lecture on good moral values in Abuja. Garba Muhammad Natala reports.
During the session, Etinupe Alhaji Yahya Abubakar urged Muslims to put into practice the lessons of Ramadan even after the fasting.
If you preach peace, our thoughts, our speech, our statements, our whatever must tally with our actions.
The guest lecturer, Dr. Abdulaziz Shutu, looked into the virtues ascribed to the month, which include issues of morality, time consciousness, generosity, closeness to the Creator and the family, among other righteous acts that brings unity to mankind.
Ramadan teaches unity. First and foremost, we commence and terminate our fast at the same time.
Allah has given us Quran. He has given us Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as our role model.
The last 10 days of Ramadan is the Lailatul Qadr period that we should ensure that we wake up as early as possible, say our prayers, pray for our family, pray for our neighbors.
Special prayers were offered for speedy recovery of the president and the progress of the nation. From the National Mosque, Abuja, Garba Muhammad Natala, NT News.
You're watching Weekend File on the network service of the NTA, and you can watch this news live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can download on your Android device and the Google Play Store, or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. Now, the homegrown school feeding program being implemented by the federal government and of course some state governments can be described as an integrated food security strategy addressing certain micronutrient deficiencies by providing food to help relieve child hunger and to attract more children enrollment in primary schools. It is part of the social investment plan by government, expected to offer win-win-win for children, farmers and communities. Let's take a closer look at the implementation strategy of the key players in the homegrown school feeding initiative here in Nigeria in just a moment.
From what we have seen, we have the capacity which we can rapidly develop or feed in ourselves. If we don't import rice, we stop importing corn and other grains, Nigeria will have plenty of money to invest into developing industries, especially manufacturing, textiles and so on, and develop iron and steel, and complement the infrastructure development. So really, the opportunities are virtually limitless, and we are very, very aware of this, and we are prepared to exploit it to the fullest.
When the kings of African comedy gather under one roof,
There is only one outcome.
then we bring down the roof.
Come witness the craziest and the funniest,
The oh my God!
and the baddest of them all. Laughter will scatter your brain well.
Come watch the biggest names in African comedy at Glow Laughter Fest. Basketmouth, Bovi, I Go Die, Sheyi Law, Gordons, Salvador, Osama, Bash, Kenny Black, and many more.
You will never have a bigger gathering of jaw-dropping, whip-cracking comedians under one roof. One microphone, one net, all over Nigeria.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there.
I am gonna be there. I'm going to be there.
Live and direct.
For the time of your life.
Will you?
To win a free ticket, use 2,000 Naira in a month and text LOL and your preferred location to 240.
Oh, Laughter Fest. Laugh go kill you, die.
Glow Unlimited.
I can't believe she just rejected me and my camera.
She rejected my lights. How can she not want makeup?
Maybe when the battery dies, she'll come back to us.
Nah, not with a 4,000 milliampere battery.
Experience the best selfies of your life. Gioni A1 Super Selfie Super Battery.
Hey, now who they here? My name now Mr. Shortcut. I dey mind my money. Now cheap one, I dey buy. Standard, we sign. Now to buy cheap one. Hey, now one kind cable for my yard. A cheap building material where we take build my office. I think say I dey save money. Office building collapse and fire burn my house.
You don't see what happened to Mr. Shortcut? Well, Standards Organization of Nigeria, SON, don't ready for action and say enough of pain, loss and wastage. And if you see product where no dey correct, call the SON office when near you or SON help desk. Standards Organization of Nigeria, improving life through standards.
The Future Assured project of the wife of the president, Aisha Muhammad Buhari, is carrying out free medical screening and distribution of food items at various IDP camps while ensuring the economic empowerment of women through training and skill acquisition. In recognition of her efforts, wives of governors have lent their voices and support.
In Kogi State, we feel the impact of Future Assured, especially in women and children.
The Future Assured program of Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, the wife of the president, has been very assuring and still reassuring in Sokoto State. It has impacted positively in the areas of humanity, especially women and children.
Supports the Future Assured initiative. Email programs@futureassured.org.ng. Future Assured, promoting and protecting the lives of Nigerian women and children.
Okay, sir. You may now go in for your interview.
Thank you. Ah, my shoe. And to think I just bought this very expensive foreign shoe 2 months ago.
So sorry about your shoes. This is why I advise my friends to always patronize made in Nigeria products. See this shoe. It's made in Nigeria and I've had it for 2 years and it's still as good as the day I bought it.
Made in Nigeria products are good quality, and stringent government regulations and certification now mean the goods made in Nigeria meet international standards. Make the patriotic choice today. Buy right. Buy Made in Nigeria.
This is a public service announcement brought to you by NTA.
The FIFA Confederations Cup Russia 2017 on Kwese Sports for the fan.
Well, we thank you for staying with us on Weekend File up to this moment. And now to reports from different parts of the country. Poor nutrition is a global problem that is rooted in poverty. Within the school system, malnourished children attain fewer years of schooling and learn less in schools. It is in recognition of this fact that the federal government introduced the homegrown school feeding program to ensure that young children are nurtured in safe environment that allows them to become healthy, alert, secure, and able to learn. Frank Azoma Oliver examines the prospects and challenges of the program so far.
The Homegrown School Feeding Program is a federal government intervention that provides food produced and purchased within the country. The program, which aims at providing free school meals with food procured from local smallholder farmers, seeks to strengthen communities across the country by increasing school enrollment and completion.
The Homegrown School Feeding Program has 4 main benefits. One, it will improve school enrollment and completion and curb the current dropout rates from primary schools estimated at 30%, and thereby also reduce child labor.
It is part of a 500 billion naira funded social investment program designed to attack poverty and improve the health and education of children and other vulnerable groups. As pilot program, the federal government has supported 9 states of Anambra, Enugu, Oyo, Osun, Ogun, Ebonyi, Zamfara, Delta, and Abia with more than 3.7 billion naira. So far, more than 1.2 million pupils have benefited from the program with the employment of more than 14,000 cooks. A breakdown of federal government investment in the program shows that Anambra State has received more than 693 million naira in 8 tranches to feed 103,743 children, while Enugu State has received more than 419 million naira in 6 tranches to feed 108,898 children. The total amount released to Oyo State is over 414 million naira in 6 tranches, while Osun State has received over 767 million naira in 8 tranches to feed 151,438 pupils. Similarly, over 880 million naira has been released to Ogun State in 7 tranches, with 231,660 school children fed, while Ebonyi State has so far received 344 million naira in 3 tranches to feed 163,137 school children. The story is not different in Zamfara, Delta, and Abia states. In general, the school feeding program is expected to support states feed more than 24 million school children, thereby placing Nigeria as the country with the largest school feeding program in Africa. But then the issues of funding and the inability of many states to domesticate the program to enable them address the staggering figure of 14 million out-of-school children in Nigeria remain a big challenge.
Our emphasis in the ministerial strategic plan, or at least 80% of our emphasis is going to be on out-of-school children, to try to attract them to school, try to make sure they stay there, because it is not a question of just being in school. We must also ensure that they are learning something in the schools.
It requires funding. And I think it's not only the federal government, but also states. Sometimes we underestimate how much the sector needs in terms of funding to provide that functional and quality education that we are talking about.
In the long run, government's desire through the homegrown school feeding program is that every Nigerian child should be supported and be given access to education to enable him or her thrive and not just survive. Franca Uzoma Olua, NTA News.
Thank you, Franca, for that background report. And from Oshobo, Olabode Arewa takes a look at the impact of the program in Osun State.
The UNICEF team led a delegation of representatives from 15 states on a visit to learn more about the state's social protection programs and how to adopt same. The team visited Anthony Udofia Elementary School, CAC Elementary School Aromi, AUD Elementary School Sabo, and Baptist Elementary School, all in Oshobo. There, they saw first and the pupils being fed with free meals. The UNICEF leader noted that the Osun State government has demonstrated the political will to improve well-being of the people.
We've been looking at several social protection initiatives, and in our discussions, we found that there are some states which have been well ahead of others, and Osun was one of them. And particularly, we were informed that Osun is for homegrown school feeding program. Osun was the first state to initiate. That's why we're here.
Some members of the delegation speak on lessons to draw from the visits.
Whether the federal government intervention is sustained or not, since the state government has taken it as their own project, and there is so much commitment on the part of the state government, I want to encourage them to continue to sustain it.
I think it's a model for the whole country to emulate, even the whole world. The fact that when you feed a child in school, which is not very common in Nigeria, I think you have provided the fundamentals. The environment is good, and the teachers are fine, and from what I can see visibly, you have all the teaching aids. So what Osun has done can invariably propel the education of the upcoming generation of Osun State.
During the 4-day visit, they were introduced to other social protection programs such as OES, ORIP, O-Ambulance, and the Elderly Persons Welfare Scheme, which have made positive impact on the people. The federal government adopted the homegrown school feeding program in 2016 as one of its social protection programs. In Osogbo, Olabode, NTA News.
Thank you very much indeed. And let's take a listen to the report by Amaka Owo from our Enugu Network Center on the situation of the school feeding program in that zone.
From Oka and its environs in Anambra State comes a report that about 96,489 school children from 1,050 primary schools are fed daily.
And the feeding helps them a lot to supplement their home feed.
School authorities say the program is beneficial but appealed for further review of population of schools periodically to ensure that adequate provisions are made. In Enugu State, some school children are reaping the benefits of the program as some food vendors were seen cooking within the premises of schools visited.
The rate is 70 naira per child. The money is insufficient. It doesn't feed the children as it should, because everything, even the cooking utensils, we bought it. It's either you buy or you hire, still on that same money.
The portion of the food is very poor anyway, very little, and the land that stop at primary 3. Others are not happy with us. I mean the senior section classes.
Officials of the State Ministry of Education and other school authorities disclosed that about 646 out of 1,028 public primary schools are currently benefiting from the program.
Inclusion of pre-primary and primaries 4 to 6 will better improve and reduce the tension and the trouble being experienced in the field.
The state government has also put in place effective monitoring and supervision mechanism to ensure smooth running of the program in the state. In Enugu, Amaka Owo reporting for Weekend 5.
Well, the challenge has actually begun as it covers only primaries 1, 2, 3. And that's the same story in Asaba as brought to us by Kevin Ubeche, who says that only primaries 1, 2, and 3 are beneficiaries of the program in that state. Let's get the report now.
In Delta State, the primary pupils within the classes are now enjoying the free meals from the federal government. They look forward to the meals as they provide their plates and cutleries, mainly for the free meals.
It's very delicious. Thank you to government for giving us food.
The caterer said that they have been trained by the states to balance the diet.
Like Monday, we cook jollof rice. Then Tuesday, we cook beans and potato or yam. Then Wednesday, we cook fried rice. Thursday, we cook macaroni. Then Friday, we give them snacks.
It has kind of boosted my finance.
And I've been following the guidelines given to them. They are all happy that government is feeding them.
The state focal person for the program, Shimiti Bellu, explained that God-fearing caterers were employed for the cooking and serving.
First tranche of payment was 86 million. The second tranche of payment was another 86 million, but that doesn't cover all the caterers. In Delta, they pay every 2 weeks. It's 70 naira per child. Of course, if they had more, the meat will be bigger. Right now, we're asking them to cut the egg 1 for 2 children for it to work. If the money was more, 1 child would get an egg. So we have about 93,000 children currently eating.
The pupils and parents commended the initiative and sued for its sustenance.
I think it's a very good development.
Pray that God will help our government to continue with this program.
So far, there is an indication that the program has boosted enrollment and retention in public schools. Health-wise, it is expected to boost their immunity because of its nutritionally balanced composition. In Asaba, Kelvin Ubechi, NTA News.
And in Zamfara State, the story is a little bit different because the implementation of the program has suffered a serious setback. Feeding of pupils, which commenced early March this year, lasted for only 10 days before it was suspended and is yet to resume. And that's from the report brought to us by Haliru Mohammed Omar.
Zamfara is among the few states in the northern part of the Federation to have accessed funds from the federal government for the implementation of the National Homegrown School Feeding Program, having met the requirements set by the concerned authority. No fewer than 360,000 pupils of primary 1 to 3 were said to have benefited from the program across the state. The feeding, which commenced early March this year, however, lasted for only 10 days, as most of the cooks appointed to serve the pupils could not have access to the funds meant for the successful implementation of the program. Some pupils of primary schools who spoke to NTA News expressed a deep concern over the suspension of the feeding, while appealing to the government to resume it in view of its importance to their studies. Also speaking on the issue, some staff of primary schools decried the setback, stressing the need for relevant authorities to address the challenges.
So we made this complaint. They said they will rectify everything.
Speaking on the issue, the state program manager Muhammad Kabir Abubakar said the suspension of the feeding followed some problems associated with the bank accredited to pay vendors. He, however, noted that arrangements for migration to 2 other banks have reached advanced stage, and the program will soon resume in earnest.
The women involved have been disenfranchised by our former bank, the way they have been treated. But in the new process again, we are mandated to request our banks again to send information in a template given by the National Homegrown School Feeding Program.
Meanwhile, NTA News has observed that some schools were excluded from the program as they never benefited from the feeding even when it operated for some days, and there was poor monitoring and evaluation among other issues that need to be addressed to achieve the objective of the program. In Gusau, Halir Muhammad Umar, NTA News.
Thank you, Mohammed. And up ahead on the program is a studio discussion with the manager of the implementation committee of the homegrown school feeding in the country. But that will be after the break.
Want to buy Indomie noodles? 4 packs, please.
Yo.
This is not my Indomie. Please, sir, if it's not Indomie, don't call it Indomie. Sir, the taste is the difference. The difference is in the taste. That's why my brothers, my mommy, my daddy, and I all enjoy admission so very delicious Indomie noodles. The difference is the taste.
I can't believe she just rejected me and my camera.
She rejected my lights. How can she not want makeup?
Maybe when the battery dies, she'll come back to us.
Nah, not with a 4,000 milliampere battery.
Experience the best selfies of your life. Gioni A1 Super Selfie Super Battery. The FIFA Confederations Cup Russia 2017 on Quest Free Sports for the fan.
All right, you're welcome back to Weekend File. And joining me now in the studio is Abimbola Adesami, Program Manager, National Homegrown School Feeding Program, where we'll be discussing some of the issues raised in the course of the reports that we watched a few minutes ago. Madam, you're welcome to Weekend File.
Thank you.
All right, you've seen some reports actually, and let's try and take a critical look at some of the information in those reports. But first of all, let me begin by asking you to share with us some of the challenges that we've encountered so far in the implementation process of this very laudable program.
Thank you very much, Inka. For the implementation, I think beyond the processes and procedures at the federal level, most of the issues that arise in the state has to do with the framework of the program, which involves, for example, the financial inclusion process, the registration of the cooks, the political buy-in by the governments themselves. You would have found that from the reports that 9 states are currently feeding. We have 30 states engaged, but the governments have not embraced the program as their own, so there's a challenge there. For us, at the federal level, we have a framework that embraces more than 4 key ministries. And within these ministries, going down to the states, there needs to be synergy. And that is a major challenge in itself, where collaboration amongst different ministries allows you to implement a program. And then basically most of these cooks are not financially literate. And so trying to get them to own a bank account and operate a bank account is one of the challenges we're also facing.
Yeah, we'll just speak for the situation in Zamfara State, where they started in March just for 10 days, and up to this moment, the program has, stalled. And again in Zamfara State, they said that so many schools were not part of the program. So what would have been responsible for this?
Okay, so when we talk about the schools, all the children not benefiting, it has to do with the cooks. A cook is supposed to feed at most 70 pupils, at least 70, at most 150. And where the cook directly receives funds from federal government into her own personal account. So each of them be it 2,000, 20,000, depending on the number the state has for their pupils, they have to own a bank account. Now, if your bank account has issues, your BVN is wrong, or the name you put in the bank is wrong, your account won't be credited. And so the children that are assigned to you will not be fed. And those are issues that have dragged the program. And so that we do not stop the program entirely because of some few vendors who have not validated their accounts, the program started. So that each of them will see that the children and the state will also work with them to get the children fed. So in Zamfara, it's a peculiar case because it had to do with a lot of the remote areas where the bank could not reach. And so they had to now look for a way to get mobile money agents to get monies to these women through their accounts.
You earlier talked about lack of synergy, but it's very important and very crucial as far as this program is concerned. Is there no channel through which you as a manager and other key players in the entire process will have access to state government or other committees set up by states to also be part of the program, to synergize, to ensure that a cook does not disrupt a beautiful plan of this nature? Yes, we understand that you're trying to reach the ordinary women in the village, ordinary cooks, those who, like you said, may not have bank accounts and all of that. That's one of the reasons for this program, because we want to also, engage the locals. That's understandable. But we have thought that it would be necessary to ensure that some of these cooks are well positioned to of their own ends to ensure that these children have food. Now we may return to that, but more importantly, apart from developing the child's mental and physical well-being, and of course creating jobs as one of the objectives for which this was set up in the first place, and we also have here that there's an increase in enrollment into primary schools across the nation. And can that be said of jobs created through the intervention, would you say?
Yes, the program had a plan to create jobs along the value chain. And the homegrown school feeding program has a lot of value chains. There's a Greek value chain. There's a value chain for the catering of the pupil, for the pupils. So the cook herself has a value chain that she supplies and feeds into. So if we say direct jobs, well, right now we're counting above 15,000 jobs created in these 9 states. We could look also at the sub-jobs that the cooks themselves have created, in terms of some of them who the governments of their states have empowered them to be able to use their utensils for catering activities over the weekend when they don't cook. They've had to hire more hands. So each of them have like 2 or 3 other cooks supporting them. Then we look at jobs around the processing of the meals, the farmers. The farmers have to supply the meals. If you take an example of eggs, and you talk of 200,000 children in the state, there are farmers who already are into poultry production for the local market. But then there are some who go into it because of the school feeding market, and all that is being organized. We look at the jobs that are created in terms of the monitoring and evaluation. For every state that starts feeding, we have youths, not less than 100, 150, depending on the number of the pupils and the cooks that go there and work with the states for 3 months at the initial to get who these cooks are, who the pupils are. So yes, the jobs are being created exponentially.
Yes, understandably, this is an enormous responsibility. But we need to ask you this, how do you ensure quality and safety of food served? But that's very, very important.
Okay, so I'll bring you back to the question of synergy. At the start of the program, it was conceptualized that the states have to own it. They have to own it because the federal doesn't have that presence to see everything that is being done. And so this capacity building workshop for the state teams was held with a lot of partnerships, different multi-sectoral partnerships. One is from the Federal Ministry of Health, NAFDAC, all the health agencies to design what the food hygiene and food safety standards will be. And then these women are trained. The first instance of coming into the program, they're trained, but then there's a regular plan for trainings during the holiday periods to say, we ensure that what you give the children are right. Then there's the back end of, okay, after training, how can we ensure we look at that value chain. Where did you buy your food? Which is what the state teams work with us on. Where you got the food, where you stored the food, how you prepared the food. So the environmental health officers within each state are also empowered to support the program. They go to check where the cooking is done, where the storage is, and all that other issues. Then we work with the primary healthcare centers. How do we immediately mop up whatever may have been an issue? The children presently are being linked to that facility where they can have first aid.
And one final question, in a second, if you can. Primaries 1 to 3 are captured at the moment. What happens to the others? Are they in the picture at all?
They are in the picture. The plan was to reach primary 1 to 6 across the country, but because of the economic recession, we had to plan, let's start this program and reach the immediate needs of these children. And so primary 1 to 3 was decided. But then the governments were also approached to try and scale up to primary 4 to 6. The program allows aggregated buying. And so, yes, for first instance, it may be expensive. For aggregated, it becomes cheaper when you buy in bulk, when you store. And so the aggregated sum can now feed the next class.
Right.
And so some governments have taken up that challenge and they are presently doing it.
All right. For want of time, we'll end it here. I would have asked more questions because this is a very important program of government, and you seem to have challenges here and there. Thank you very much indeed for sharing your time with us this evening. Abimbola Adesome, Program Manager, National Homegrown School Feeding Program. Thank you again for coming on Weekend File. Now, sports is next on the program, coming very shortly.